Coach, is it your experience that when you get to this point of the season, 27 games left, this is the team that you have, or is there a chance for growth still for this basketball team?
Well, it's definitely a team that we have in terms of, these are the guys on our roster. But I would hope in 27 games we can still find ways to improve. If we're done growing now, that doesn't bode well for the final 27 and hopefully a deep playoff run. So we played well going into the break, won 8 games in a row, but there are a lot of things that we can improve upon. And as I told our players today, you have 14 home games, 13 road, and I think only 5 of the 27 games that we play are currently not in the playoffs or play-in conversation. So very tough schedule, and hopefully we can attack this last 27 and get off to a great start, starting with Charlotte tomorrow night.
Housekeeping on the injury stuff, Russ and Mike, were they able to participate today?
Yep, everybody was, and the best part about today's practice was Vlaco was able to practice, Deron Holmes was able to go through parts of practice, so really excited for him. You get hurt in your first game at Summer League, and you have surgery, and you're rehabbing, you're recovering. That's a lot to ask of a young player mentally. And for him to get out here and go through parts of practice, the guys were excited for him. He was excited. And so, we had everybody except Peyton Watson go through most of practice.
Is it realistic that he could potentially be on the court at some point during the year into the playoffs?
I don't think so, but I'm not a doctor. But I think it would be probably a long shot. I think our training staff, medical staff would be a lot more comfortable with, let's use the off season and ramp up and get him right for next year.
Is Nikola better at 30 than he was at age 25, and if so, how so?
I mean, if you looked at it from a numbers standpoint, the numbers would say yes. I mean, he's having a guy who's been a 3-time MVP, a finals MVP, and a world champion. He is playing the best basketball of his life. His points per game, his rebounds, his assists, the three-point shooting, the volume, steals, there's so many things you can point to. So from an individual standpoint, I would say that as Nikola turns 30 today, this is the best he's ever played. And that's what you want to see. You want to see guys continue to find ways to challenge themselves, to push the envelope and become better and not be satisfied. And thankfully Nicola's been finding ways to do that for us.
Pure speculation, but there's not very many advantages to being a superstar. But in '84, I saw the Nuggets play.
You're 84?
No, I look 84. I'm only 67.
I'm kidding.
But in 1984, I saw the Nuggets play the Lakers in Western Conference Finals. I believe Kareem was 37 at that time. And he was the best player on the floor. Speculation, how long can Joker be this good?
Well, I think the really important thing when you consider that question is this. How does Nikola dominate the game? The way he dominates the game is with intelligence and skill, not athleticism. So the reason I think he could be a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at 37 still dominating is because your mind and your skill level are not going to deteriorate. He's not driving down the lane and dunking on people every night. So I think that bodes well for his longevity. I think he'll be able to play at a high level for a really long time, as long as he wants to continue to play this game because of the unique skill level and IQ that he possesses.
You've asked a lot from this team defensively all season. Are you starting to get a rate of return on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the, it's come in waves, and not enough waves, and we need bigger waves, more consistent waves. But you look at our best stretches of the season, it directly coincides with really good defensive stretches. We had a stretch where we go 12-3, beat some really good teams. Our defense was 6th during that stretch. We go 8-0 going into the break, and our defense is much improved during that. So, and then you look at our clutch defense. That's one thing where I think our players know when push comes to shove, and we got to really lock in defensively, we know we can get a big stop or 2 stops. And my job is to find ways to make that happen more consistently. As I alluded to earlier, our schedule and the quality of schedule and opponents that we're going to be playing is going to be a handful. And we're going to have to be, we know we're really elite offensively, but our defense has to rise to the occasion for us to finish up these final 27 on a high note.
The lineup change that
made in January, you obviously only had a game basically before you had to go back to pushing the lineup. With the way he's playing, do you revert back to the original? Do you still want to kind of give that look with Russ some runway with him coming back? How do you kind of approach that at this point?
You really don't think I'm going to answer that question right now, do you? All I'll say is that it's great to have options. We have a healthy team, and obviously Russell Westbrook's done great things for us. Christian Brown, this last 8-game stretch, is playing just incredible basketball, and so people say, oh, that's a tough decision. I look at it the opposite way. I'm really fortunate to have a tough decision to make where you have quality players that have really impacted winning. And that's what it comes down to. It's never about one player. It's about what's best for our team. And as we approach tomorrow night's game and this final stretch, we'll do what we think is best in that moment. And it could change. I mean, like we've seen it change throughout the season. So, but we'll make that decision tomorrow night and kind of give that a chance to continue to grow.
Coach, any plans to celebrate Nicola's 30th today?
Yeah, I think there's some cupcakes down there, and I don't know. I think that's about it. I think he's just happy to be home after a really exciting All-Star break. But I told him it's crazy that when he came here, he was 20 years old, and I've seen him go from 20 to 30, and feel really fortunate to be able to be a part of such a good person, such a good player, who's about all the right things. So obviously we all sang happy birthday to him, and I'm sure he'll go home and celebrate with his family.
What's the biggest change from 20 to 30?
He's married, he's got 2 kids, he's grown up, he's matured. As a player, we talked about how he's playing the best basketball of his young career, but at his heart, he's still the same person. And that's one of the things I love about the guy, is that he's still Nikola Jokic from Sombor, Serbia. He's never forgotten where he's come from or who's helped him get here.
What's Nikola's ceiling, and what does he have to do to get there if he's not there yet?
His ceiling, geez, I don't know. He keeps on pushing the envelope. Just when you think he's reached his ceiling, a 3-time MVP, one of maybe 10 or 11 players to ever accomplish that feat. He finds ways to continue to challenge the system, challenge the game. So I never put a ceiling on him. I think when you're dealing with greatness, you never want to put a ceiling on that. You want to allow him and give him room to grow, and watch that, because it's really fun to be a part of that process.
What's the most important thing Julian can accomplish over these final 27?
Just continue to find ways to come into the game, impact the game with his efficiency offensively and his discipline, and just fight overall on the defensive end of the floor. He's been a guy that we've relied upon. Last year, before he got hurt, he was a guy that we really, kind of targeted, try to, run plays for, see what he can do for us, provide a scoring spark off that bench. And same thing this year, and I think he's had some really good stretches. So for a young player, you're always battling consistency. Can he be a consistent contributor night in and night out? And can he be a guy that, hey, listen, you're not going to target me every night defensively. I can hold my own. I'm going to fight. You might score on me, but you're going to have to work really hard to do so. And if he can provide that, Benny, he'll be really a solid contributor for us.
This was a pretty active trade deadline, and you're going to see a bunch of those teams. Golden State with Jimmy, the Lakers with Luka. You played them 3 times. Do you, as a head coach, enjoy the challenge of having these almost new teams, or do you kind of sit there and go, man, I wish I had more film of these new teams and with their new players?
No, because we know who Jimmy Butler is. Jimmy Butler's not changing because he's wearing a different uniform. Luka's not changing because he's wearing a different uniform. You know who they are at their core as individual players. Now they might be used a little bit differently in the system and all that, but I get up for judging and challenge yourself against some of the best teams in the league. And as I mentioned earlier, we have some really tough games in these final 27, and that's going to be a real test to kind of see where we're at. And I think our guys are excited for that challenge because we took care of business. We had an 8-game stretch. We played against some teams that were banged up, missing some guys, but we took advantage of it, which what you have to do as a good team. And now we have to find a way to beat some of the better teams in the NBA. We're around a 500 team against teams over 500. And we have to be better than that as we move towards the final stretch.